The restaurant my sister chose for Mom's 55th birthday was pretentious in that particular way wealthy people mistake for class. White tablecloths, tiny portions on oversized plates, waiters who introduced themselves like they were doing you a favor. The Ashford family was already seated when I arrived. My parents, my sister Diane and her husband Kyle, my brother Preston and his wife Amber. And me. Without my husband. "Where's Daniel?" my mother asked immediately, her nose wrinkling like she'd smelled something unpleasant. "He's working," I said, sliding into the empty chair. "He sends his apologies and happy birthday wishes." "Working," my father repeated, the word dripping with skepticism. "At what, exactly? Is he still doing that computer thing in your garage?" "He works in tech development," I said, the response I'd given 1,000 times. "He's building software." "In a garage," Diane added, exchanging glances with Kyle. "How very Steve Jobs of him. Except Steve Jobs actually succeeded." "Give him time," I said quietly. "Time?" Preston laughed. "Sophie, you've been married for 6 years. How much time does he need? You're 33 years old, working yourself to death as a nurse while he plays around with computers in his pajamas." "He doesn't wear pajamas. He has an office." "In your garage," my father repeated. "Sophie, this is an intervention. We've been patient. We've been supportive. But enough is enough." My mother reached across the table and took my hand. Her diamond rings, gifts from my father over the years, caught the light. "Sweetheart, we love you. We want what's best for you. And Daniel isn't what's best for you. You don't know him," I said. "We know enough," my father said. "We know he hasn't held a real job in 5 years. We know you're paying all the bills while he chases some fantasy about becoming a tech entrepreneur. We know he's dragging you down." "He's not dragging me down." "Then why are you always exhausted?" Diane challenged. "Why are you working double shifts? Why can't you afford to go on vacation with us? Why are you still driving that 15-year-old car?" "Because we're investing in the future," I said, though I knew they wouldn't understand. They'd never understood. My father reached into his briefcase and pulled out a manila envelope. He slid it across the table to me and I knew what it was before I opened it. "Divorce papers," he said flatly. "I had them drawn up. No fault, clean split. We'll pay for the lawyer. You can be free of him in 60 days. I stared at the envelope like it was a snake. "You had divorce papers drawn up for my marriage?" "For your protection," my mother insisted. "Daniel has nothing, Sophie. No assets, no income, no prospects. If you divorce now, you can protect what little you have." "What I have?" I almost laughed. "You don't know what I have." "We know you have a husband who's freeloading," Preston said. "We know you have a nursing salary that's stretched too thin. We know you have debt." "We don't have debt." "Then why can't you afford anything?" Diane demanded. "Why do you live in that tiny house? Why do you clip coupons and shop at thrift stores? Why won't you let us help you?" "Because we don't need help," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "We're fine." "You're not fine." My father's voice rose, then he caught himself and lowered it. Other diners were looking over. "Sophie, I'm a financial consultant. I know what struggling looks like. You're drowning while that man plays computer games in your garage." "He's not playing games. He's building a company." "A company?" Kyle laughed. "With what money? What resources? Sophie, be realistic. Your husband is a 35-year-old man with a garage hobby and delusions of grandeur." I looked around the table at my family. At their expensive clothes and judgmental expressions. At the divorce papers sitting between us like an accusation. "I'm not signing those," I said. "Sophie," my mother started. "I'm not divorcing Daniel. I love him. I believe in him. And you all need to respect that." "We can't respect a bad decision," my father said. "We can't watch you throw your life away on someone who will never amount to anything. You don't know that. We know he's been building a company for 5 years with nothing to show for it," Preston said. "We know he doesn't contribute financially. We know you deserve better." "Better like Kyle?" I looked at my sister's husband who'd spent the evening checking his phone and bragging about his hedge fund. "Better like Amber?" Preston's wife, who'd married him for his trust fund and everyone knew it. "You all think success looks like you. But maybe it looks different." Success doesn't look like poverty, Diane said sharply. Success doesn't look like your husband mooching off you while you work yourself to exhaustion. He's not mooching. Then what's he contributing? My father demanded. Show me one thing he's contributed to your marriage besides empty promises. I was about to respond when the TV mounted behind the bar caught my attention. The news was on and the headline banner read, "Breaking. Local Texo makes $50 million donation to Children's Hospital." My family was still talking, still pressing their case for divorce, but I watched the screen. Watched the news anchor introduce the story. Watched the footage of the press conference from earlier today. The one Daniel had left early this morning to attend, the one he'd been preparing for all week. And then his face filled the screen. Daniel Park. My husband. Standing at a podium flanked by hospital administrators and city officials, announcing his donation. Extraordinary generosity from Daniel Park, founder and CEO of Nexus Technologies, the anchor was saying. The $50 million donation will fund a new children's wing at Metro General Hospital. Turn that up, I said, interrupting my father mid-sentence. Sophie, we're having a conversation. Turn it up. I said louder. The bartender caught my gesture and increased the volume. Park, whose company has been valued at $230 million following last month's successful Series C funding round, says he was inspired to make the donation after his wife's work as a pediatric nurse. The camera zoomed in on Daniel at the podium. My wife Sophie works with sick children every day. She comes home with stories about kids who need better facilities, better equipment, better care. This donation is inspired by her dedication and compassion. I'm just grateful my company's success can make a real difference. My sister's fork clattered onto her plate. That's your husband? Daniel Park, the anchor continued, is the founder of Nexus Technologies, a software company that has revolutionized healthcare data management systems. The company, which Park started in his home 5 years ago, now serves over 2,000 hospitals nationwide and employs 300 people. My mother's hand had gone to her chest. My father was staring at the screen, his mouth slightly open. Park's company recently announced a major acquisition, the anchor said, pulling up another graphic. Nexus Technologies acquired DataMed Solutions last week for $87 million. The acquisition will expand Nexus's market share in medical software to an estimated 40% of hospitals nationwide. DataMed Solutions. My father's biggest client. The account that had kept his consulting firm afloat for the past 3 years. My father's face had gone from red to pale to gray. The acquisition is expected to close next month, the news continued. Park says DataMed's technology will integrate seamlessly with Nexus's existing platform, creating the most comprehensive healthcare data system in the industry. They cut to footage of Daniel from the press conference. He looked confident, professional, nothing like the deadbeat in pajamas my family imagined. He wore a tailored suit, spoke clearly and articulately, fielded questions from reporters with ease. "Mr. Park, what do you attribute your success to?" a reporter asked. Daniel smiled, that soft smile I loved. "My wife. She believed in me when no one else did. She supported the vision even when it looked impossible. She worked long hours so I could focus on building something meaningful. Every success Nexus has is because Sophie made it possible." The screen cut back to the anchor. A remarkable story of entrepreneurship and philanthropy. Daniel Park's $50 million donation is the largest single donation to Metro General Hospital in its 100-year history. The segment ended, moving on to sports. But the damage was done. The table was silent. Every single person was staring at me. "Your husband," Diane finally said, her voice strange, "is worth $230 million? The company is valued at $230 million, I corrected. Daniel owns 60% of it, so his share is worth about $140 million. But we don't think about it like that. We think about it as building something that matters." DataMed Solutions, my father whispered. "He bought DataMed Solutions. They acquired it last week, yes. That's my biggest client. That's 40% of my revenue." "I know." My father stared at me. You knew he was buying them." "Daniel told me about it last month. He said it was a strategic acquisition. They have good technology that complements Nexus's platform." "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked slightly. Why didn't you warn me? Warn you about what? About the acquisition? That's just business, Dad. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. DataMed is my client. If they're owned by your husband now, that changes everything. Does it? I asked quietly. Because from where I'm sitting, my husband just became your boss. The words landed like a bomb. Preston choked on his wine. Diane looked like she might faint. Kyle had gone very still, his phone forgotten in his hand. I need to make a call, my father said, standing abruptly. I need to call Jonathan at DataMed. I need to understand. Jonathan doesn't work there anymore, I said. He retired as part of the acquisition. Daniel brought in his own management team. His own. My father sat back down heavily. Sophie, I need you to talk to him. I need you to tell him that our firm has been essential to DataMed's success. We need to maintain the contract. Do you? I interrupted. Because 5 minutes ago you were telling me to divorce him. You handed me papers. You called him a deadbeat. You said he'd never amount to anything. We didn't know, my mother said weakly. No, you didn't. Because you never asked. You assumed. You let us assume, Diane said, finding her voice. You let us think you were struggling. You let us think Daniel was some loser in your garage. Why wouldn't you tell us the truth? I told you the truth. I said he was building a company. I said we were investing in the future. I said we were fine. You chose not to believe me. You said he worked in your garage. He did work in our garage. For the first 2 years. That's where Nexus was founded. Then we moved to a small office. Then a bigger office. Now we have a headquarters downtown with 300 employees. But it started in our garage because that's what startups do. They start small and grow. You could have told us he was successful, Preston said. When you were calling him a deadbeat. When you were arranging interventions. When you were drawing up divorce papers. I pushed the manila envelope back across the table. You want to know why I didn't tell you? Because it wouldn't have mattered. You didn't respect Daniel when you thought he had nothing. You only respect him now because he has money. That's not respect. That's just greed. That's not fair, my mother protested. It's completely fair. You've spent 6 years telling me to leave him. 6 years of comments about his computer hobby and my wasted potential. 6 years of not-so-subtle hints that I married beneath me. And now, the second you find out he's worth millions, you want to call him? You want to maintain business relationships? You want to suddenly pretend you believed in him? We're your family, my father said. We were trying to protect you. From what? From a man who built a company from nothing? From a husband who works 18-hour days to make a vision real? From a partner who just donated $50 million to charity in my honor? I shook my head. I didn't need protection from Daniel. I needed protection from you. Sophie, please, my mother said, tears forming. We made a mistake. We misjudged him. We misjudged the situation. Can you forgive us? Can I forgive you? I looked around the table. You want forgiveness now? Now that it benefits you? Now that Daniel might be able to help Dad's business? Now that being associated with us sounds good instead of embarrassing? It's not like that, Diane said. It's exactly like that. If Daniel had stayed small, if Nexus had failed, you'd all be sitting here congratulating me for finally leaving him. You'd be celebrating this divorce. But because he succeeded, because he built something massive, now you want to backtrack. Now you want to be supportive. Now you want to be part of our lives. We've always been part of your lives, Preston said. Have you invited us to anything in the past 2 years? Have you included Daniel in family events? Have you made any effort to know him as a person? I looked at each of them. He's been my husband for 6 years. How many of you know his birthday? How many of you know where he grew up? How many of you know anything about him besides what you assumed? Silence. That's what I thought. My father cleared his throat. Sophie, I understand you're upset. But let's be practical. I need to maintain my relationship with DataMed, with Nexus now. Can you facilitate a meeting with Daniel? Can you explain that our firm is essential? No, I won't facilitate a meeting. No, I won't explain anything. If you want to talk to Daniel, you can call his office like everyone else. You can go through his assistant, wait for a callback, and hope he has time in his schedule. I'm family, my father said, his voice rising. He should take my call. Should he? Should he take a call from the man who just tried to convince his wife to divorce him? From the man who called him a deadbeat? From the man who spent 6 years making it clear Daniel isn't good enough for this family? My father had no answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to go home to my husband who just made a $50 million donation and gave me all the credit. I'm going to congratulate him on the acquisition and the press conference and everything he's built. And you all are going to sit here and think about what you've done. Sophie, it's my birthday, my mother said weakly. I know. Happy birthday, Mom. I hope it's everything you wanted. I looked at the divorce papers still sitting on the table. You should probably shred those. I walked out of the restaurant while they were still sitting there, stunned and silent. My phone started ringing before I reached my car. First Diane, then Preston, then my father. I declined all the calls. When I got home, Daniel was in his office. Not our garage, but the actual home office in the spare bedroom we'd converted. He was on a video call, but he smiled when he saw me and held up a finger. 1 minute. I waited, looking around at the house my family called tiny. It was 1,400 square feet. Perfectly adequate for 2 people. We'd bought it 8 years ago, before Nexus, before everything. Daniel had wanted to move when the company started making real money, but I'd said no. I liked this house. I liked our neighborhood. I liked the life we'd built that wasn't about impressing anyone. How was your mom's birthday? Daniel asked, ending his call and pulling off his headset. Interesting. How was the press conference? Exhausting. But good. The hospital administrators were overwhelmed. I think a few of them cried. He smiled. I meant what I said, you know. About the donation being because of you. I know you did. How did your family react to the news? I sat on the edge of his desk. They saw it on TV. During dinner. His eyebrows rose. They didn't know beforehand? Nope. Found out the same time as everyone else. I'm guessing that was awkward. My father brought divorce papers. Daniel went very still. He what? He had divorce papers drawn up. Slid them across the table during appetizers. Told me I needed to leave my deadbeat husband who's ruining the family name. Those were his exact words. I see. Daniel's voice was carefully neutral, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. Then the news came on. Your face was on the TV, announcing the $50 million donation. The anchor called you a tech CEO worth $230 million. She mentioned the DataMed acquisition, which, by the way, is my father's biggest client. Was his biggest client, Daniel corrected quietly. DataMed doesn't exist anymore as a separate entity. It's been absorbed into Nexus. He figured that out pretty quickly. He wants to meet with you. To explain why his firm is essential to your business. He asked me to facilitate it. What did you say? I said no. I told him if he wants to talk to you, he can call your office like everyone else. Daniel was quiet for a moment. That's harsh. Is it? He just tried to get me to divorce you. He called you a deadbeat. He spent 6 years making it clear you weren't good enough for this family. I'm not though, am I? Daniel said softly. I'm not good enough for the Ashford family. I don't have their pedigree, their connections, their country club memberships. Stop it. It's true. I'm the son of immigrants who owned a dry cleaning business. I went to state school on scholarships. I started a company in a garage. By their standards. By their standards, you built a $230 million company from nothing, I interrupted. By their standards, you're more successful than any of them will ever be. But that's not why I married you. Why did you marry me? He asked, pulling me closer. Because you're kind. Because you're brilliant. Because you see problems and solve them. Because you wanted to make healthcare better, not because you wanted to get rich, but because you genuinely wanted to help people. Because you make me laugh. Because you supported my career even when it meant I couldn't support you financially. Because you're a good man, Daniel Park. The best man I've ever known. He kissed me softly. Even when I was working in our garage in pajamas? You never worked in pajamas. You always got dressed. You're too disciplined for that. I smiled. But yes, even then. Especially then, actually. Because that's when I got to see who you really were. Not the CEO with the tailored suits and the press conferences. Just Daniel. Just my husband building something he believed in. I couldn't have done it without you, he said seriously. I meant that too. Every word. You worked double so I could hire our first developer. You believed in the vision when investors laughed at me. You never once suggested I give up and get a real job, even though I know people were telling you to. My family was screaming at me too. And you didn't listen. Why? Because I believed in you. Because I saw what you were building. Because I understood that real success takes time. I paused. And because I loved you. Love you. Present tense. Always. My phone rang again. My mother this time. You should probably answer that eventually, Daniel said. Eventually. Not now. I declined the call. They want to apologize now. Now that you're successful. Now that it benefits them. But they wouldn't have apologized if Nexus had failed. They would have congratulated themselves for being right. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Daniel. This was 6 years of consistent judgment. 6 years of dismissing you, dismissing us, dismissing everything we were building together. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. He was quiet, running his thumb along my hand. What do you want to do? I want to take a break from them. Maybe a long one. I want to focus on us, on our life, on the family we might build someday. I want to be around people who valued you before you were worth millions. That's a pretty small circle. I know. But it's a genuine circle. Your parents never doubted you. Your sister always believed. Our friends from college never cared about money. Those are the people I want around us. What about your family? What about them? You love them. Despite everything, you love them. I do. But I don't like them very much right now. And I don't trust their sudden change of heart. Daniel nodded slowly. Hey, we'll take a break. We'll focus on us. But Sophie? Eventually you'll need to decide if you want to repair those relationships or not. And whatever you decide, I'll support you. Even if I decide I don't want to repair them? Even then. Your family, your choice. I'll follow your lead. That's why I married him. Right there. That understanding that I was a complete person capable of making my own decisions, worthy of respect and support regardless of what those decisions were. My phone rang again. Diane this time. You really should answer eventually, Daniel said. They're probably panicking. Good. Let them panic. Let them sit with what they did. Let them understand that actions have consequences. Very philosophical. I learned from the best. I kissed him. How does it feel? Being a CEO? Donating $50 million? Acquiring your wife's father's biggest client? Surreal. Terrifying. Exciting. All of the above. He grinned. Though I do have to admit, there was a small part of me that thought about your father when we were negotiating the DataMed deal. Did you acquire them because of him? No. I acquired them because it made business sense. DataMed has technology we need, market share we want, and a customer base that complements ours. It was a smart acquisition. He paused. But did I enjoy knowing that the man who called me a deadbeat was about to lose his biggest client to said deadbeat? Maybe a little. I laughed. Actually laughed. You're petty. I'm human. I spent 6 years being polite at family dinners while your father made comments about my computer hobby. I smiled through your sister's questions about when I'd get a real job. I endured your brother's jokes about us living in poverty. A little petty satisfaction feels earned. What are you going to do about his consulting contract? With DataMed? With Nexus now? Daniel shrugged. I'll evaluate it like any other vendor contract. If his firm provides value, we'll keep them. If they don't, we'll go in a different direction. Business is business. And if I asked you to keep him on regardless of performance? I'd do it. Because you asked. But I'd prefer to make the decision based on merit. Make it based on merit, I said. My father's firm is good at what they do. If they're the best option, keep them. If they're not, don't. He doesn't get special treatment just because he's family. He doesn't deserve that after how he's treated you. That's cold. That's fair. He wanted me to divorce you based on your bank account. Let him keep his contract based on his competence. Seems equitable. Daniel pulled me onto his lap. Have I mentioned lately that I love you? Not in the last 20 minutes. I love you. So much. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did. Thank you for standing by me through all of it. Thank you for being my partner. Always, I promised. Through garage startups and $230 million companies and everything in between. My phone rang again. My father this time, fourth attempt. Answer it, Daniel said. Get it over with. Tell him what he needs to hear. I sighed and answered. Hi, Dad. Sophie. Thank God. We need to talk. About Daniel, about the acquisition, about everything. There's nothing to talk about. There's everything to talk about. I misjudged him. We all did. But now we understand. Now we see what he's built. We want to make it right. You want to make it right now that it benefits you, I corrected. You want to repair the relationship now that he's successful. Where was this energy 6 years ago? Where was this support when he was actually building Nexus? We didn't understand then. You didn't try to understand. You assumed. You judged. You dismissed him without ever giving him a chance. We're sorry. We're truly sorry. Can you forgive us? I looked at Daniel, who was watching me with patient understanding. I don't know yet, Dad. Maybe eventually. But not today. Not this week. Maybe not this year. You brought divorce papers to Mom's birthday. You tried to end my marriage because you thought Daniel wasn't successful enough. That's not something I can just forgive because it turns out you were wrong. Sophie, please. I need to talk to Daniel about the DataMed contract. I need to maintain that relationship. Then call his office. Schedule a meeting like any other vendor. He'll evaluate your firm based on performance, not on family connections. That's business, Dad. You taught me that. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. You wanted me to divorce him. You can't turn around 2 hours later and expect special treatment because he's successful. This is vindictive. This is consequences. You don't get to have it both ways. You don't get to dismiss my husband for 6 years and then expect him to do you favors the moment you realize he's worth millions. That's not how respect works. My father was silent for a long moment. What do we need to do to make this right? I don't know. That's something you'll need to figure out. But it can't just be words, Dad. It has to be real. Real respect. Real understanding. Real effort to know Daniel as a person, not just as a CEO who might be useful to you. Hey, we'll do that. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll see, I said. Right now I need space. We both do. Don't call me for a while. Don't call Daniel at all. If you want to maintain your business relationship with Nexus, go through proper channels. If you want to repair our personal relationship, you'll need to give me time to decide if that's even possible. Sophie. Goodbye, Dad. Give Mom my love. I hope the rest of her birthday was nice. I hung up before he could respond. Daniel was smiling slightly. That was harsh. That was necessary. I rested my head on his shoulder. Is it wrong that I'm not sorry? It's not wrong. They hurt you. They hurt us. You're allowed to establish boundaries. Even if those boundaries hurt them? Even then. Especially then. That's how people learn. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, the sun was setting, painting our tiny house in golden light. From where I sat, I could see into our living room, furnished simply but comfortably, filled with books and memories and the life we'd built together. Want to order pizza? Daniel asked. Celebrate the donation properly? Pizza sounds perfect. And maybe, he added with a mischievous smile, we could eat it in the garage. For old time's sake. Remember when that was our office and our dining room? And sometimes our bedroom when you fell asleep at your desk, I reminded him. Those weren't comfortable nights. No, but they were good nights. Because we were building something together. We still are, I said. Just on a bigger scale now. Much bigger. $50 million bigger, apparently. I laughed. Show off. It was your idea. You're the one who kept telling me about the kids at the hospital who needed better facilities. I didn't expect you to donate $50 million. Why not? We have it. We should use it to help people. That's the whole point of having money, isn't it? To make a difference. That was Daniel Park. Built a $230 million company and thought the point of having money was to help sick children. My family thought he was a deadbeat. My family brought divorce papers. My family was wrong about everything that mattered. I love you, I said simply. I love you too. Now come on, let's order that pizza. And maybe open some champagne. We're celebrating multiple things tonight. The donation, the acquisition, and most importantly, you standing up to your father. That last one feels petty. It's not petty. It's self-respect. There's a difference. We ordered pizza. We drank champagne in our garage-turned-storage room, laughing about the early days when this space held one desk, 2 chairs, and infinite hope. We toasted to Nexus Technologies, to children's hospitals, to the future we were building. And we didn't answer our phones when my family called again. Because some things matter more than money. Some relationships matter more than business deals. And some people are worth believing in long before the world recognizes their value. Daniel Park was worth $230 million. But I'd known he was priceless 6 years ago in our garage. That's the difference between seeing someone for who they are and seeing them for what they're worth. My family was learning that difference the hard way. And honestly, they'd earned the lesson.